YouTube, my name is Devin and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video showing you everything that I read in the month of January. January was kind of a rough month for reading for me because one of the books that I read put me into a giant slump, and so I only read 3 books this month. The first 2 books that I read this month were actually the second and third books in the Gifting Trilogy by K.E. Ganshert. I read the first book in this trilogy right at the end of last year, and so when the new year started back up, I just decided to blow through the rest of this trilogy. And I read all 3 books within the course of like 2 weeks, I want to say. And I'm a pretty slow reader, so that just tells you how good these books were because I seriously could not put them down. It was actually a problem some nights that I didn't want to go to bed because I just wanted to keep reading, and I already am bad about staying up too late at night and everything. So then you throw in a really good book in the mix, and then you just have a really tired Devin. So the first book in the trilogy was The Gifting by K.E. Ganshert, and I didn't even do a December wrap-up video just because at the end of the year everything was so crazy. But if you watch my yearly wrap-up video, you would see that The Gifting was in that video. Then this month I read The Awakening and The Gathering, and those books were both so good. Honestly, they are hardly even 3 separate books. You could put them all in one book and you would never even know. Where one book ends, the next one picks right back up, and I love that. So I don't own these books physically because I actually borrowed a lady from my church's Kindle to read them on. She knows that I really love reading, and she told me that if I liked Divergent and The Hunger Games, that I would really like these books, and she was absolutely right. I love Divergent and The Hunger Games, and I really loved this series. It's my new favorite dystopian series, and I feel like not that many people talk about it. There's not that many reviews for it on Goodreads, and I've never seen anyone on BookTube talk about it, so everybody go look it up and put it on your to-be-read list. It is The Gifting Trilogy by K.E. Ganshert, and these books are just phenomenal. They are dystopian and kind of supernatural. These books are set a little bit in the future, and our main character, Tess, is kind of going through a troublesome time in her life because she has always been taught that the only things that you can be sure of in life are science and logic. There's no God, there's no magic, there's no paranormal or anything. And so when she starts having kind of paranormal experiences, she doesn't really know what's happening and she thinks she's going crazy. Her family thinks she's going crazy. Within the first chapter of the first book, her family has packed up from where they lived in Florida and moved out to California because there's a really good facility for the mentally ill there, and they kind of want to figure out what's wrong with her before the government hears about it or anything, because people who kind of have paranormal or supernatural experiences and talk about them and stuff are kind of considered to be crazy. They are put into rehabilitation facilities, which is kind of just a nice way to say that they're locked up in insane asylums. There's also a love interest in these books that I absolutely love, and his name is Luca, and he is just the quintessential perfect guy in my opinion. I absolutely love these two together. Tess and Luca were just so perfect together. You were never really sure if their relationship was just friendship or if it was something more, but you knew it was more than just friendship, but were they really boyfriend and girlfriend? And so as they're going through all this crazy stuff with the government and the supernatural and all of this, they're also trying to figure out their own feelings towards each other and just having this adorable little love affair together. The third and final book that I read this month was Prep by Curtis Sittenfeld, and this is the book that put me into my giant reading slump. My reading slump really had nothing to do with this being a bad book or anything. It was just that I was coming off of a high after reading the Gifting trilogy, and then I was like, well, now what do I read? Nothing's ever going to compare to the Gifting trilogy, and I thought that this book was going to be just kind of a cutesy, contemporary book, but it's not contemporary and it's definitely not cutesy. It's actually kind of a serious book, and it deals with a lot of different issues that teenagers face, and I wasn't expecting that. So this book is really great, but I was just finding that once I put it down, I didn't really want to pick it back up. So when this book starts out, we meet this girl named Lee, and she is 14 years old, and she has just moved to this preparatory school in New England, and it is called Alt School. Lee is from Indiana, and her family's kind of lower middle class. Lee sends in an application to a lot of different preparatory schools because she wants to get out of Indiana, whether it's because she wants to get a better education like she told her parents, or it's because she wants to get out of Indiana and get into a better school with more like rich people and like more money and high class and everything. And so she sends an application into all, and she gets accepted, and she also gets offered a really big scholarship, and that is kind of how her family is able to afford this. There are 8 chapters, and within those 8 chapters it chronicles her entire 4 years of high school. She was in the top of her class at her school in Indiana, and now she's finding that when she got to alt, like, she's struggling with her classes because the material is a lot more difficult and it doesn't come as easy to her as it used to when she was going to school in Indiana. Lee also has some pretty serious social anxiety. She does not know how to relate to her peers. She doesn't really know how to have a regular conversation with someone without like constantly overthinking the whole thing and thinking like, should I say this or should I say this? Or, oh no, I said this, now they're gonna think this about me. Like, she's constantly just like having a battle in her head about like every interaction that she has with someone. If she sees somebody in the hallway, she will decide if she's going to make eye contact with them, like keep looking down, or if she'll like look through her book bag or something so that she doesn't have to look at them and they'll think she's busy doing something. Lee also gets really infatuated and obsessed with people. There's this guy at her school named Cross, and he's like the typical like jock, and he's like the top in their class and everything, and she is just obsessed with him, or I guess more of the idea of him and how he's able to just kind of float through and everybody likes him and he's popular and he does well at everything and he never has to worry about people not liking him, and that's just the kind of person that Lee wants to be, so she's really drawn to that. And then as she goes through her 4 years, she encounters a lot of different things that I think teenagers could relate to. There are racial issues, there is times when she questions her sexual orientation. There's a lot about social class and like money. Lee also has a lot of family problems. Her family doesn't seem to understand her. This book does seem to drag in some places. There is so much description, pages upon pages of description, and her just scrutinizing herself and everything that she does and worrying about everything that everybody else is doing in her relationships and just friendships, and she's just too worried about everything, and that definitely comes across in this book, and I don't know if that was intentional with like Curtis Sittenfeld when she was writing this, you know, like you're reading this and it's just like you're reading someone's like inner dialogue in their mind, and so it kind of really does give you an idea of what Lee's going through on a day-to-day basis. I did give this book 3 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, but I just didn't love it. I thought it was fun to read about a lot of different topics that I'd never read about with this book. I definitely recommend this book to you if you like reading about preparatory schools or characters with social anxiety. That is everything that I read in the month of January. Hopefully February will be a better reading month for me, fingers crossed. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys!